Well, welcome everybody. After a delay, because I was on vacation and Scotty was mad I didn't tell him we weren't going to go live, we're back. It's
Yeah,
Bronco
I mean,
Camp.
one of the two of us went on vacation and still sat there Wednesday night,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
and
That
I'm
happened.
and I'm in Oklahoma and you're in San Diego. That would have been a beautiful view. Get the ocean behind you. You know, your wife coming in a little one of them tiki dress things over there, giving you a coconut drink with an umbrella in it. Man, it could have been. I mean, think of the aesthetics.
Oh, I like your thinking. Wouldn't have happened that way, but I like how you set the mood.
Brought
Maybe
you
a little Mecca Kaliki Maka going on in the background.
Could have been like me, you, Patrick, and Mark, and all the cats down in Tucson at the what was it, the Tiki Lounge.
The Tiki Lounge with them gigantic drinks. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, oh. Yeah, you're lucky you made any spring training practices with those things going on. Well, you know what? I got some fun stuff towards the end for you, but let's start here. Of course, the news of the day, the Broncos get going. Get going as in, warming up and doing meetings, and really wasn't a training camp practice, but Sean Payton, what did you I didn't get a chance, even though you and I talked a couple times today on your show. What did you think of Sean Payton? Were you happy Sean Payton didn't give us the gruffy old coach answer and said that he's excited to embrace the pressure?
He yeah, he acted like a guy that's been off for 6 weeks and missed conversation even with the Muggles. And so, I mean, he went like 37 minutes.
He went forever. I zoned out after 15. I'm not going to lie. Is that wrong? I don't know.
No, listen, I'm sure half the Muggles didn't hear what he said either. They had their patented get ready question and then did what they had to do. But no, listen, he sounded like a guy that was enthusiastic, and Darren and I were talking about on our show today that okay, guess what? He when he got here that first year, he didn't have his quarterback, didn't really have his team. He got involved, it seems like, in free agency and the draft, and may have, in some estimations, overdraft guys. Um, but they got the guys they wanted. Um, and here's the way I put it for Darren today. It's now Sean Payton's hump.
Oh, yeah.
It is no longer not my hump. Everything from today in underwear walkthroughs, warm up practice till the end of camp is his until the end of the season is his hump now. We
It's
are
all
now
his hump.
definitely in his hump.
And it's good. Well, and he's ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
And I'm all right. So the national hype train's going, which, you know what? Look, I'll give you this. I do think people have to pump their brakes a little bit, but I don't want them to pump it too hard. It's much nicer to hear your team talked about in national circles as a team that could get some stuff done versus what we've been hearing the last couple years.
But you know what? My only problem with that, Andy, is this: is it legit, or is this the Sean Payton? Everybody who's really starting to blow this up is kind of his guy, his gal type thing. Is this Sean Payton's pals in the national media, or is this legit? And that's my only thing I'm a little nervous about.
Well, I'll tell you this, a guy that I don't think is a big, I do think, Orlovsky, I think, does get to know him a bit. I think he knows he's smart about who he picks. He's smart about who he knows has got the national time slot. Kay Adams has a big following. Some of the Fox guys have a following, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do think there's some guys doing him some favor. But Louis Riddick said today on ESPN that the Broncos are going to be a bunch of bad men, and he goes, I don't mean that in a bad way. He said, you better watch out for that team. And I don't think Louis Riddick is a guy that is trying to do anybody any favors in his commentary. You know what I mean? He was a guy that's applied for some GM jobs, and so
he's also a guy that hasn't been afraid to say stupid things over the last 9 months to a year either. So, but that's cool. Listen, I'm not cheering against it. I hope it is.
No, I'm with you. I get it. You're right, though. Look, you are right. Sean has a group of national people. Peter Schrager will be on ESPN soon. He's another one that he's endeared himself to, and I think they will hype him if they can. So
we will see but that's fine. Like I said, it's his home now, and it's his team. He got the quarterback in he wanted, and to again go with Darren's. You got to draft a quarterback philosophy type thing. You got to draft a guy that the coach wants and likes and can work with. I think he's done a good job in Bo Nix. And you said this. You said this on your show. You said it on our show. If there's one giant surprise at Bo Nix, he's a better leader than any of us thought he was going to be. And I think that continued in the offseason. I mean, he had time to get married and do a big, long Italian honeymoon and stuff like that. But man, I mean, he's sitting down with Drew Brees for 4 or 5 days. He's sitting, with a
Tom
throwing
House.
coach, sitting in there going over mechanics and stuff like that. He's doing very mature things, and listen, I don't know other than Peyton Manning, and that really wasn't that long ago, just 9 years ago. But Peyton Manning was that kind of guy. I'm not putting him in Peyton Manning's shoes yet. John Elway was from a different era, let's be honest. John Elway's in the beer and hot dog and let's play golf in the off-season era. But listen, this is the first time we've had a guy, it seems like he's working on his craft when the clock's not on. And I think that's big.
Yeah, and thank you, Taylor, by the way. I was going to ask you while you were saying that, because you do mention the maturity, and we shouldn't be surprised, and I don't think we are surprised by the maturity with how long he played and all the starts and all that stuff Bo Nix had in college. Could it be another reason why Sean Payton wanted him was the fact he knew he wasn't going to have to coach leadership into Bo? Because again, I can't help, Scotty, it isn't fair, because Drew Lock wasn't, I think, as established a starter as Bo Nix was. But it just is amazing to me, being around both guys, how much more mature and really handling it like a job Bo Nix is compared to Drew. You know what I mean?
Well,
Drew just had a little of that frat boy energy still to him compared to what you get from Bo Nix.
It reminds me, I was talking to one of the Nuggets assistant coaches, and this was probably a decade ago more, when Evan Fournier, so maybe 15 years ago, when Evan Fournier was a rookie. And I can't remember the kid's name. He was a good athlete. He's a nice kid, 6'9" dude from Baylor. And he came out of college, like probably after his sophomore year or something. And he's working out with his coach, with Fournier. And Fournier's, working. Boom, 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 boom. He's doing everything. He goes, Coach, why is he just so different? How's he know what, do all this stuff so easy? And he goes, because, son, while you're playing college basketball, he's playing against grown men in a European pro league.
Yeah.
He's been playing with grown men, while you've been growing up playing with boys in AAU. And we equate that to Bo Nix is with all the years. I mean, the one big thing that they talked about, he played more college games than anybody else. I don't know if you know for sure that you've got a leader, but I know what you know for sure. When you get a guy who's played as many games as he did when he came in, you got somebody who's mature. So you're not, the leader part. I really do. I think that's all. And Sean Payton may disagree, and he may say something else. But you never know until you get the guy what kind of a leader he is. But you've got to assume with that much take, playing at the place, like he didn't go from, San Jose State to Auburn to whatever. I mean, he started at Auburn. That's a big time program. Played well there, and then he goes to Oregon. Played well there, big time program. So I don't know if he knew he had the leader that Bo's turned it into, but I knew he knew that he had a mature guy and he wasn't going to have to babysit him. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it's probably another reason why maybe some of the other guys weren't really the apple of his eye compared to Bo Nix. Now, again, we'd played the cut, and Sean was quick to say that, as Eric Goodman asked him today about the marriage between he and Bo and what's it like behind the scenes. And Sean took that question as an opportunity to go, I think Bo would be good no matter what is. We're paraphrasing, but you heard the answer. He basically said, it's not just because he's not just good because he's with me. He'd have been good, and that's a lazy narrative. And I got it. That's where I disagree.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it's only a Bo Nix thing, dude. Bo Nix, I think, would be good with Sean Payton, obviously. I think he'd be good with Kyle Shanahan. I think he'd be good with Sean McVay. I think he'd be good with Matt LaFleur. But you can't tell me every coach in the league, and it ain't just Bo. It's young quarterbacks, period, man.
Yeah.
I said this to Connor today on our show. Sean also had the comment about he cringes when he hears people talk about, and I'm one of them. I'm probably one of the ones that made him cringe if he bothers to tune in. But when we talk about defenses are going to study Bo and they're going to take away what he likes to do. Look, man, I believe that they're doing that because I've had enough pro athletes tell me that's what goes on in the offseason. But you know what else I've seen from Sean? I've seen from some of the stuff going on in spring camp that they're getting ready. They know what they're going to counter. They know they're going to try to take away some of the stuff Bo's comfortable with. And they're already working on some of the other throws we didn't see a lot of last year because Sean knows and Bo knows that they're going to have to mix in some different from what the league now knows as the staple.
Well, Houston says hello. Yeah, I mean, and listen, that quarterback had a great rookie year. Wasn't like he was horrible his second year. They still made the playoffs, but his numbers were all down. His interceptions were up. So don't tell me that they didn't watch a little C.J. Stroud and were a little bit more prepared to what his abilities were his second year compared to his first.
Right.
So that's the league, man. That's the league. You don't. The one thing that the NFL, and maybe this is all pro leagues, I don't know, but I know it's with the NFL. Heck, I think it's the NHL too. You don't fool people year to year. When the Avs came out, I mean, think about this. When the Avs came out and just started and won their Stanley Cup and were just so much faster than everybody. Well, if we can't find just as fast people to run with them, meaning we still got to play their style, we got to find fast people to play their style. How about the counter to that? How about big, giant dudes that's going to muck up that speed and keep them from getting up to speed and slow them down? And that's what seems like Vegas has done, Dallas has done. A lot of teams sure have done that, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. They've countered them. There's no doubt where
you don't fool teams year and year. It doesn't take pro teams 3 years to figure. Oh yeah, like in college, maybe you can. I mean, Alabama when Saban was rolling there, it didn't seem like no matter what you did, they was just going to get you the best athletes, and they were just going to out athlete you, and there was nothing you was going to do about it, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this too, because you and I have seen a few systems here in Denver, right? We had Bomani Jones making the comment yesterday that he's never going to be a Bo Nix guy. He's not in on Bo Nix, and he thinks that the system was crap and too many short passes behind the line of scrimmage, blah blah blah. And look, and there's no doubt that's what it was. But what I don't like about that is if the Broncos are great at executing the short passing game, because this, people forget. I remember the 49ers of the 80s and 90s. They were the king of the slant pass. Remember that? Jerry Rice and John Taylor, they'd run a 5-yard slant, they'd catch it, they'd break a tackle, they'd get downfield. Nobody ever called that, crappy little this and stupid little system, because nobody could stop it. Now, I'm not saying the Broncos are there yet, but if they do get there yet, if they were to get there, I mean, that's what you call your system, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. They don't need to be downgraded for whatever they do that's effective that hopefully can't be stopped. Now, again, they're not all the way there yet where they can't be stopped. You look at the playoff game right there. They got to improve on what they did in the playoff game. But
listen, the first question is you got to get there, or the first statement, you got to get there. Okay. Now, what you did is sustainable. So what we're talking about now, is it sustainable without any tweaks? I say any system is unsustainable without some sort of tweaks and advancement. We used to always talk about, right, when we do radio shows and get them together. So, okay, here's the branch. What are the limbs coming off that branch? Where can we go? And that's the same thing with an offense, right? I mean, or even a defense probably. Okay, here's what we're about. Here's the meat of who we are. How are we going to branch off from it? What branch? Oh, and this branch come here, and they start to get that. Guess what? We can go off this way, off this, and all of a sudden now you got 4 or 5 branches coming off that big one, limbs off that big limb. So that's what pro teams do. Listen, Tom Brady and even Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning would get it deep once in a while, but Peyton Manning was the king of throwing it short. Dallas Clark made a career of catching a lot of underneath stuff, right? Edgerrin James made a nice career. Tom Brady, I think one of the years he won a Super Bowl, averaged 6 yards a throw. I mean, is that massive? So, Bomani
But they
Jones.
had a great, again, it was their system. I
Yeah.
don't like, you're gonna punish them for this. And another thing Bomani Jones said was he made it so easy for Bo Nix to function. Isn't that the point of coaching? Who the hell goes out there and says, "Oh no, do something hard, do something incredible every drive"? I guess
Well,
Hackett did, and that's why he couldn't score more than 16 points ever.
right,
Right?
right.
I just whatever.
On one hand, Bomani's right in the sense that you're gonna have to grow from what you did.
Sure.
I think you and I would have both agree with that. They got to grow. They got to grow from what they were able to do last year.
But they would tell you that. Sean in his comment today said we're like the building that's under construction over there.
Yep. Well, but let me ask this. Now, it was maybe sustainable, but and I said this on the show today. John Fox, I think the year that they start Tebow all those games and they end up winning 8 in a row, get to the playoffs, beat Pittsburgh. Listen, that was a master class in coaching. You got a quarterback that can't throw it, but you know what he can do? He can run play option off that thing pretty good, play pass run whatever, and they went on a run. It wasn't pretty. It obviously wasn't sustainable, but guess what? Got you a playoff win, didn't it?
I was always told by Jeff Legwold, again, the Tebow season is what won Manning over to come here because he saw that's a coaching staff dedicated to doing whatever they have to do to figure out how to win games, right? To the point where they went to a high school like Veer type offense that even you would recognize from your days as a high school Veer quarterback and turn it into something the NFL couldn't figure out real quick.
Well, listen, the NFL at that time wasn't used to a 6'2", 6'3", 250-pound quarterback running downhill on them.
It was, yeah, listen, it wasn't sustainable, but it was fun, and it was unexplainable.
It was a fun year, wasn't it?
It was. And you know what? See, that's the other thing, too. We're all throwing around win totals right now because it's just kind of what we have to talk about, especially with the Rocks. Although they get a couple wins against the Cardinals, that kind of surprised me. You know what I could see, Scotty? Tell me if you could see this. I could see the Broncos being at the same 10 wins, but it being a more impressive 10 wins. Like where you actually beat some playoff teams and you know what I mean? You stare down another good quarterback or something.
You're 1-7 last year against teams above 500.
Right.
You lost to Cincinnati in overtime, and you lost to Kansas City because your guard couldn't block on a field goal.
Our guy Forsyth.
And that's 2 pretty good teams, especially you look at what Cincinnati was putting up. I think it was 24 when it went to overtime, or something of that. I think right around there. I mean, that was a team throwing up 30 all the time, right? I think Burrows had 5 games in a row of over 303 touchdowns or something like that. I mean, it was stupid. I mean, he was playing Star Wars kind of games, right?
Yeah.
But you had it. I mean, and that was at Cincinnati. That was a meaningful game. That right there to me showed you as much. And that's what and this is where they got to get better too. They always seem like they have a good start. Remember, they scored on Buffalo right away in that game, and then they go dead for about 24 minutes, and then they have some sparking at the end of the fourth quarter. They got to be more sustainable with their drives. They can't be last in the NFL or first in the NFL in 3 and outs. You fix that a little bit, and with that defense, you give that defense a little rest, and that defense stays healthy. Could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. And when we talk about converting third downs and staying on the field, that's where I hope an Evan Ingram makes a difference, and R.J. Harvey, maybe even J.K. Dobbins, and I'm going to say, I don't know that Pat Bryant, I don't know that I see number one receiver out of the guy, and why we probably shouldn't expect that. He was a fourth-round draft pick that a lot of people thought you should have taken in the fifth. But I do see a guy that wins fast off the line of scrimmage, and if he can win fast with that big body, he could be very tough to stop in third and short. And if you could keep it in that third and four, third and five, and all of a sudden he's winning quick and getting on a slant, and you got a problem with Evan Ingram running those perfect tight ends, sit down in the middle field of his own, routes. I mean, all of a sudden you got some more problems to solve on third down that this team frankly didn't give people to solve last year.
What was our tight end with Manning his first year?
Jacob Tammy.
No.
And Joel Dreesen.
The basketball player that had all the touchdowns.
Oh, Julius Thomas. Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of expectations from Julius Thomas. Played 1 year at Portland State. What's this guy going to be able to do? Next thing you know, 2 years later, he signed a big old giant contract in Jacksonville, isn't he?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Matter of fact, they overpaid him. I don't think Jacksonville, because they took my guy, Zane Beatles. Always loved talking to Zane, man. Zane was so cool. Zane, though, was another guy that kind of got paid by Jacksonville, and then, they let him go 4 out of I think it was year 4 of a 6-year deal or something like that, and they let Julius go, and, I remember Jacksonville signed Malik Jackson, and now they got their money's worth, but again, Jacksonville's constantly changing coaches.
He had a couple really good years there. Well, but that's in almost every sport also. I always go back to the Steve Nash in Phoenix, and he had the Matrix, and they had Stoudemire, and all of a sudden those guys, become free agents, and each one gets picked off. Stoudemire was okay in New York, but he wasn't, on his own without somebody creating a lot of stuff for him. Without Julius Thomas having Peyton Manning, maybe not the same kind of tight end, right? Bruce Brown, just recently, pretty good with Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, and he was all right. He was okay in Indy. I mean, he averaged 8 or 9 points, and good solid backup guy. But he wasn't anything like he was here, was he?
No. And Manning, look, we all know Manning did that for a lot of people, but it was I don't know, my guy Malik. I remember going and seeing Malik Jackson after that terrible Blake Bortles Paxton Lynch game in 2016. We got done with that game. Was so bad, and they won it, and you could tell it wasn't a celebratory atmosphere in the locker room. So when we got done with post game, I snuck over to the Jacksonville locker room to see Malik, and Andy just yelling like real loud across the locker room. So I love Malik. I wish we could have kept him, man. I do.
I would have liked to kept him also.
Him and Danny Trevathan. I think we all really under it. Now, look, Brandon Marshall stuck around, was a good player for this team for a long time at linebacker.
Yeah.
But man, Danny Trevathan was a bigger part of that thing than I realized.
Trevathan went to Chicago and killed him for 2 or 3.
Yeah, he was still good. He had a good career. He was the opposite of what we were talking about. He went other places and stayed successful.
Yeah.
So it's too bad. I am excited for all this, though. Let me ask you, though, because you and I covered a lot of camps together. We may have to tell a few stories about some of the first training camps we did together. But how do you feel? I said it. Maybe I said it's all for you. My body clock just makes it feel like I keep trying to tell my mind, quit thinking your summer's over. You're not on the broadcast crew anymore. You know what I mean? Because on the broadcast crew, then it's just nothing but constant interviews and getting ready for the games, and you got to go to every single minute of camp and yada yada yada. Like, I'm not going Saturday. I'm just going to tell people right now, from what we know Saturday is going to be, I'm not going back. I'll go tomorrow and Friday, and then I'll go back out there on Monday. But when you're on the broadcast, you got to be out there, right? You never Mike Shanahan 2 years in a row gave you an award for never missing any practices.
Yeah. Well, supposedly these first 4 days of the acclimation, And then Leggy told us after Sunday they're going to have 4 more days of acclimation after that. So you're probably not going to get into real heavy hitting football until maybe a week from Friday, and then they leave Saturday, I think, to go and practice in San Francisco.
Right. They go out early to San Fran, get a few practices in with them, then play their first preseason game. I don't know though. I guess my question to you, do you still do you feel, have you been off the broadcast long enough that you don't feel like summer's done when we get to football, or is your thing more basketball?
Well,
Does this time of year signal to you you're about to be on the road again for basketball?
No. October 1st, Labor Day, I start going, oh, here we go. We got about 20 days, and things will start heating up a little bit or sooner. No, I don't have the same feeling as when I covered it. But it was also, the time of my show is different. It makes it harder, and Sean Payton and COVID, it started with COVID, and then Sean Payton, lack of availability, if you will, has changed kind of my enthusiasm. Like, I know some guys that go out there and stand and all they do is talk to other media members, and then they get on the air and go, yeah, I was out of camp today. And I'm like, dude, I just watched you. You've been talking the whole time.
You weren't watching.
I watched the guy. Listen, I heard him on his show, and he was talking about all this stuff at camp, and I'm like, dude, you were sitting down underneath the tent and talking to people. You weren't watching nothing.
You was not there. You were there, but you weren't really there.
Yeah. Saying I don't want to be that guy. I'll go out there a handful of times. I'll see how it is. And, I if they need me to say I'm there, then I'll be there. But I want to get, I want to see something. I like to go there. I like to stand by Leggy or you or, there's always a handful of players out there that I still know. Atwater, you got to talk to today. I'll stand and talk around with those guys because then you learn something.
Oh, I'm telling you, Atwater was the one telling me last year to watch the guys. Atwater's excited about a few guys, so I'm curious to see.
I gotta bring the warden in.
Okay,
come here, because you're gonna appreciate this. Andy has a story. I told you when I went to Shannon Sharp's induction in the Hall of Fame, and we're sitting at the after party and we're talking, and the warden's there, and I'm talking to Steve. Steve's there, and he's sitting down. We're talking, and the warden goes, "Hi, I'm the warden. What's your name?" He goes, "Steve." "Oh, you're Steve." My Steve what? And he goes, "Steve Atwater." "No, come here. No, you got to come here." He goes, "Steve Atwater." Her eyes got this big. She goes, "You're my second favorite player of all time." Which, who gets told that? So now I'm going to bring the warden here. You had an interesting Steve Atwater, number 27, story today that the warden's going to be on your side, and I want you to share it on the podcast. You got to come hear this. All right. Well,
so I'm standing next to Steve, and J.K. Dobbins is taking the 27.
Yeah,
the running back.
Free agent running back is wearing 27.
And so I looked at Steve, and I go, man, he shouldn't be wearing that number. And I went off because, should I? Yeah, I'd like to see him retire the number.
Go off.
Well, no, but first off, running back don't need to have the damn number in Denver. Okay, it bothers me. I don't, and because Steve immediately goes, well, no, Sean had. I go, yeah, I didn't like that either. And I got no problem with no Sean. I always like no Sean. It's nothing against no Sean. But in Denver, Colorado, when you play for the Broncos, you ain't putting a 27 on a running back. Okay, first off, 27 on a running back looks stupid anyway. I'm sorry, Eddie George. But for the most part, running backs to me need to be, you can be 20 or 21, maybe 23, but then you need your ass in the 30s, okay? But you don't need a running back wearing 20. Like if I had it my way.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame, and he should stop, and we should stop giving it out to, like, again, if you don't want to retire it, but you want to let the top safety or the top DB wear it and earn it like you do sometimes in college, then fine. But I know this, the dude you just picked up on a one-year deal don't need to be wearing 27. And then Steve goes, well, but what if he goes to the Hall of Fame and then we have two Bronco Hall of Fame 27s? And I was like, no, stop. I told him, I'm going to be mad about it for you. And by the way, why is Hufunga wearing 9? I asked Steve, I go, what good 9s have we had in history? Give me a good Bronco 9. Then I think Treadwell was 9, so I felt a little bad about that. What good 9 have we had in the history of the Broncos? Huh?
I can't.
Brady Quinn wore 9. All due respect to Brady. I know he's popular around here and the ladies find him hot and all that, but Brady Quinn didn't do nothing for you. There ain't no 9s. Give me a good 9 in Bronco history. Somebody in the comments. What good 9 have we had?
Well, the way you feel about 27, because Atwater was their second favorite player of all time. Shannon Sharp's her first or favorite player of all time. She freaks out every year. We sit down, game 1, here we do. Who's 84? Who's wearing that? And she freaks out and doesn't think anybody. And I'm with you, and I know it gets tough. But for me right now, 3 numbers, maybe 4.
84.
7, 27, 30, and 84. Other than that, you can put whatever you want to do.
Yeah, man. And you know what? A guy that I really loved and got to know and still talk to from time to time is David Bruton. It drove me nuts when Bruton as a safety was wearing 30. You bring up 30. I was like, why did he get 30? That doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I just think, again, I don't care if you don't retire it necessarily, but make it a number you earn at the position group to honor your past. You know what I mean?
An autographed Atwater jersey?
Yeah, somewhere.
Do you want me? Maybe I'll bring up a piece of athletic tape. We'll put it on the back just for the year. We'll put Dobbins on it.
No, we won't. Atwater gave me one of his. It's the greatest thing I own. He actually gave me, because I asked him one time, because I went on the Bronco website to get a jersey, and I wanted to get his jersey. And I go, Steve, what's the deal? I go, can you just go ask them at the team store? It wouldn't let me say Atwater. Like when I would type in Atwater on your custom jersey thing, it said you're not allowed to use profane language or something. I was like, what? It wouldn't let me order an Atwater jersey. And I couldn't figure out why. So he came like 3 days later. He comes and just gave me one. He goes, here, man, I got one. Here, I got you. And he gave me one of his jerseys. So it's really awesome. But I was like, the team store's got to step it. And you know what? I've had some problem trying to get a Dennis Smith one now, too. Because I was like, I might as well get Dennis Smith since I got Atwater. Seriously, in the jersey conversation for everybody. There we go. Treadwell, Riley Dixon, Kendall Hinton, and Jeff Driscoll.
Jeff Driscoll.
Who good on Madambale. You know the right one. But listen, dude, seriously. If you're buying a jersey these days, with the way guys switch teams, aren't you just better off getting it? You got to get a retired guy, I almost feel like.
You almost got to go classic, don't you?
I feel safe with Surtain, and that's about it.
Well, you know what?
Now, maybe in a couple, 3 years, it's the Bo Nix all the way, but not quite yet.
Give me a Manning, you know. I guess Bo Nix maybe someday, but still, that's what's that one receiver? Another Julia favorite.
Mims?
Who wore 10?
Oh, Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders.
No, he's not.
I know.
No.
She doesn't like Emmanuel Sanders.
I got a DT. So.
The Velociraptor.
Let's go. I had, you know what, I find me, because this, when jerseys were starting to be cool and you could buy them and stuff, and I became pretty good friends with Brian Habib, who was the right guard when they won their first Super Bowl anyway. And so he gave me one of his game jerseys. So I mean,
that's cool.
Oh, I mean, it's a real game jersey. I got home. I don't know if I did it that day or sometime before the game. I put that thing on, and now Habib's a 300-pound dude. I couldn't even squeeze it over my leg, and I was way before I was fat. And I'm like, oh my God! And that's when I first realized, dude, the linemen, those jerseys of linemen are painted on.
Listen, none of them now. Stink did the same thing. Stink gave me one to give to my boy Jay that for his wedding. And he literally gave me a game jersey, and Jay put it on, and it looked like a bodysuit, dude. It was terrible. I don't think people know it because I know they sell game jerseys Dude, anybody that's actually got a game issued jersey anymore, there's a reason why they need people to help get the stuff off. I told you I used to have to help Trevor. When Trevor busted up his shoulder, Simeon, I used to have to help pull his pads off so he could take my headset and talk to Dave. That's the first time I saw the creature that was coming out of his shoulder when he was playing anyway. Looked like a third head, the alien head growing out of his shoulder after McCoy fell on him. Ugh.
Here, I'll make a statement. You can give me true or false. We'll never appreciate Trevor Simeon the way we maybe should have.
Oh, I've said that forever, but everybody, here's what I never will understand about Trevor Simeon. And I get into this with Nate all the time. Trevor was the underdog story I thought we all loved and appreciated. He was the 7th round pick that was, you know, the lines from Rudy, you're 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. You don't need it. You know what I mean? He had no business playing NFL quarterback, and the guy won the starting job for an entire season, and yet everybody wanted to get and again, you gotta remember, he had you that close to the playoffs. If Benny Fowler doesn't drop a fourth and dropped it, and frankly, as much as I love my guy DT, had dropped the one before. They dropped 2 balls in the end zone that would have won him the Tennessee Titans game, that would have gave him the 10th win, that would have got him to the playoffs. But they dropped 2 passes that cost them the game. And you were that close to getting 10 wins and going back to the playoffs with him. And everybody wanted to act like we just had to anoint Paxton Lynch the next year, which is just Paxton was the king of running around on 7-on-7. Ugh.
Yeah, I can remember that first couple of camps of Paxton Lynch. And we're like, I don't know if you were sitting over the side with us and stuff, and we would all go, yep, he's taking off again.
Yeah. It's like, bro, it's 7-on-7.
We know you can scramble with no pressure. We got you.
There's literally nobody out there. What are you doing with this rep? Ugh. Well, anyway.
He went up to Canada and failed up there, didn't he?
No, that was Chad Kelly. Chad actually was a pretty good quarterback, but then had stuff. He was accused of stuff. I don't know where the case stands.
I thought Paxton Lynch got signed by somebody up there.
Paxton Lynch was in either the UFL or the XFL. I think he was in the UFL, and he had his same struggles there too. So, whatever. I think John Elway gets too much crap from people, but the Paxton thing is a black mark there.
Well, it's hard. So. It's hard to pass up. When was it the year before? He could have had Josh Allen or the year after Josh Allen and Jackson. I think was the last pick of the first round. The same. Yep. I mean, you had 2 future Hall of Fame quarterbacks you could have gotten.
Yeah, that was 2 years later because they drafted him in 2016 when Brock took off unexpectedly. 2017, they got a full look at him at 2017. And I just remember John telling people when they signed Case Keenum that he hoped he would show Paxton how to be a professional quarterback. And that's when I was like, oh, God, here we go. And they passed on. Now, listen, again, I do feel like we do a little too much of everybody seems to forget how inaccurate Josh was at the very start of his career. Josh Allen worked his rear end off to get better and more accurate, okay? But he was not fantastically accurate. He had a little of the Paxton Lynch long delivery, high sail on his footballs early on.
But he played with a lot of moxie, even as
he did. He was look, people tell me all the time what they can't understand. He's the closest thing to John Elway since John Elway, and John didn't want to take him for some reason.
Right.
But water under the bridge. So
yeah, that'll be someday somebody right about that. Well, they had Lamar Jackson, and I was a big proponent. That was my guy that year. Because
I kept saying him too because I thought he could be Deshaun Watson.
Well,
and now he's better than Deshaun Watson. Not creepy Deshaun Watson, but the Deshaun Watson that was damn near rookie of the year.
For some reason, that college season must have seen 3 Louisville football games. And every time I did, I was like, oh, my God, this guy is different. Now, he was skinny as a rail. You know, he's still kind of skinny, but he's packed, man. He's built a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But, boy, you could tell there was something special about him.
Well, I remember Tyler and I were doing our show together at that time, and we got on the voice of Louisville, the play-by-play guy. And so I asked him, how good is Lamar Jackson going to be? And he said he wouldn't be a quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
Even he didn't believe it. So the only thing, again, with Lamar Jackson, and maybe Sean does enough of this on his own too. The good coaches create an offense for what they got, period. And I mean, Harbaugh went all in to create the offense for his guy to be good, period.
Well, listen, Lamar Jackson's won 2 MVPs now. I know he hadn't won a Super Bowl, hadn't even been to a Super Bowl. But you can't tell me he can't play.
No, the dude totally can play, and if you could go doing the redraft again, you sure as hell wouldn't have been taking Josh Rosen at 10 or 11 or whatever it was. You would have been taking Sam Darnold in the top 5, and I don't think you'd be taking Baker Mayfield number 1. If we were to redraft, I think the first 2 picks would have been, my guess would probably be Josh Allen and then Lamar. But instead it was Baker Mayfield and then Saquon Barkley. And then the Jets took Sam Darnold.
And Sam Darnold 5, and then I think you're right.
No, Sam Darnold was 3.
And Rosen 10, I think.
What's that?
I think Rosen was 10.
Yeah, I believe so. Josh was 7. So, listen, we always get on the Broncos. How do the Colts feel? I know that that Quentin, the guard, the Notre Dame guard that we all love, I know he was a badass, but then Andrew Luck's out, and now you took a guard instead of taking Josh Allen.
Yeah, but Luck played at least 1 more year, didn't he? Was
Yeah, I know. You're probably right. Well, listen, nothing worked out for Andy. You let Peyton Manning go because of Andrew Luck, and Manning went to 2 Super Bowls when you went to none, won one of them, and then you pass on Josh Allen.
You went to 2 Super Bowls and got knocked out of the playoff once by Andrew Luck.
Yeah, but then he went and had Deflategate and lost in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
he go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks that would you not say he underachieved?
He's the greatest never was of all time. He could have been, but he never was. Look, the guy was phenomenal. I don't get on Indy too hard because, to be honest with you, I think I've told you before, but I was on the field when the Buffs played Stanford. I was on the sideline on the broadcast crew, and I cannot believe the minute I saw Andrew Luck play at Stanford, and then we went later to Miami, and I went and did the sidelines for the Bronco game in Miami where Tim Tebow found a way to win it, and I knew that cost us the damn pick. I thought to the Dolphins at the time, not the Colts. I wanted Andrew Luck so bad I could taste it. That dude was doing things as a college. I remember, Irv Brown's kid. I'm forgetting his first name. Brown, the D. He was our D coordinator. Why can I not remember?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. It was
Yeah.
Irv Brown's son. He was really good. He kept showing Andrew Luck different looks, and Andrew Luck kept changing the play. There were a couple times where Coach had him change the CU defense, change their look as close as they could, and Andrew Luck changed out of the play each time they moved a guy. It was amazing. Never seen a college quarterback do it. So, and then it got to the point where in the middle of the game, they couldn't even hide it from him anymore. He just knew everything they were doing. It was unreal. So I would have made the same decision the Colts did.
Well,
yes, he was never what he should have been.
We kick ourselves for guys we didn't draft. You think the Colts maybe were kicking themselves for not doing more to the offensive line and maybe keep him a little more upright and healthy?
Well, you're right, but remember, TJ Ward got him too. Remember, TJ Ward lacerated his kidney when they lost to Indy in 2015. Remember that?
Yeah.
Ward got him on a sack, and it lacerated his kidney. So, yeah, man, it's, that's why even I know DMAC told you today that they're all having I told you so moment, and they're having one right now, and I hope they get to keep having one. You really don't know. You got to get 5 years to really know how things are going to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 to 5 years. So,
well, we had a guy, Sandy and I, when we were doing our show, and I sorry, I can't remember his name. He's an NFL scout forever. He's an NFL front office. He ran the combine for a bunch of years. And he always said this, back when the league was only playing 16, you got to have at least 18 starts by a quarterback before where you really know if he's going to have enough.
Well, that's awesome. That means Bo Nix Bo Nix got 18 last year because of the playoff game.
Played in the playoff. He got 18.
So you got what you needed. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Let me ask you this. You and I did training camp for a while. Let's tell a couple quick stories and we'll say goodnight. Like, what's your favorite moment from Greeley that we had? Bronco player interview related. Nothing at the Smiling Moose or hanging out in the dorm.
Well, no, those are my greatest moments. I guess we won't tell Patrick and the Winnebago story. We'll skip that one. I remember. Do you remember the kid? It was in camps up in Greeley, and they got the third quarterback kind of in camp, and he was that kid that was a standout at UNC. Young guy, and Elway loved him.
Okay.
So they go out one night after it. And like I said, this is a beer and hot dog league. Elway grew up in a beer and hot dog. I grew up in the NBA in a beer and hot dog league. That's what it was. I can remember.
Are you talking about Jeff Lewis?
No, he wasn't. He didn't play it. He didn't play at Northern Colorado.
Oh, okay. I was thinking. Okay.
Jeff Lewis on the team that won the first Super Bowl.
You're right. And he was Northern Arizona. Sorry. Go ahead.
But we're all out on a night, and we go out to the old Chicago and some of the Smiling Moose. We started Smiling Moose. That's when I first got to know Alfred. Woo. But this kid, he's a rookie trying to make the team. They wouldn't let him leave. And he said, no, if I'm getting fined, you're getting fined. He said, and I'll pay for it. That's what Elway told him. And he got this young rookie out, and he had the time of his life. I mean, I guarantee you now he's probably a stockbroker or something like that now, or a veterinarian or whatever he majored in. But he's got a story for life because they would not let this kid go home. And by the end of the night, we're standing up. We went to old Chicago. I think it was the last place we went. And he and I are sitting there talking because somehow I got rolled in because Elway and I basically the same age. So he and I were buddies. But so this kid's standing right by me. He goes, man, I start having to drink some water. They won't let me go home. It to me, for a kid who was mesmerized by the movie Paper Lion and the book by George Plimpton, and seeing how those guys with the Lions in that era would go out and party, even during training camp at night, man, it was beer and burgers, right, every night. I got to witness it kind of in action one night, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. That was my memory off the field. My memory on the field, you'll love this. So, and remember, Greeley, you can walk everything. We can stand around on the sidelines. I mean, we
slept in the same. Yes, I was telling Atwater that today. Yeah. I told you realize under Shanny we would be standing in between the fields with you guys. I was helping guys up after tackles.
This is one of my first training camps, and I think it was Wade Phillips. I think Wade was the coach this year. Wade or Dan, because I was out there for Dan, I think his last year, and I think I was out there as Wade. It was one of those years. And I'm out there standing on the sideline, literally just right off the field where they're practicing. And I'm standing with our good friend Jim Ryan, who played in a couple Super Bowls with the Broncos as a linebacker. And Jimmy, what a wonderful guy. William and Mary, right? Did he go to William and Mary? He and I are sitting there talking. He's explaining things to me. And Atwater starts to come over. Now, this is 2 or 3 years before the Super Bowl, right? So this is prime shape Atwater, and Atwater knew I was an Arkansas guy, and he was an Arkansas guy, so he came over. That's when I first really met him, and he just came over to middle of practice, sitting there talking to me and Jimmy. Knew Jimmy, right? Knew Jimmy Ryan, So the three of us sitting there talking, but I'm looking. Steve Atwater, Jim Ryan. Steve Atwater, Jim Ryan. And Atwater swamped him, size-wise, build-wise. Now, listen, Jim retired and been retired, and, he'd gotten in shape, and, he was a lot thinner. But Atwater walked away, and I remember looking over to Jim Ryan, because I'd just getting to know him that year, too. Remember, he was doing some shows and filling in and doing stuff. I go, Jim. He goes, yeah. And I was real serious. I wasn't doing this to be funny. Now I can do it to be funny. I'm looking at him real confused. Like I go, you played linebacker? He goes, oh, I know, but that guy's not human. That guy's abnormal. That's not a normal safety. He's abnormal. I go, but you played linebacker. He goes, yeah, I don't know how I did it. He goes, I don't know how I did, because listen, he was a hard hitter and a hard nosed player, overachiever. But Atwater dwarfed this guy that had played in 2 Super Bowls in linebacker.
Dude,
safety.
He dwarfs so many people. It's ridiculous. It just is. Just even out there today, you're like, man, he's so much taller than so many of the other guys that even played. You know what I mean?
He's got a dad's bod and everything else, and you wouldn't even know him. But hey, listen, I caught him and Dennis Smith the last couple of years together.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ain't nobody signing up for that all day, sucker. I'll just say that. So, you know what I'll always remember? We were up there, and it's both. It was cool, but it was sad. We're up in Greeley, and we could eat. For those that don't know, in Greeley, we would all eat at the same lunchroom. So a lot of times at the median, especially us being a KOA, we could go sit in the lunchroom, and you would eat literally with the players. Same food, same stuff. They'd come BS with you. You know what I mean?
EAS shake. Remember they had that little EAS stand? We could get a protein shake.
We all made sure we were there for steak and lobster night into the thing too, right? Remember that into camp? Last meal of camp. So we're there, and it's lunchtime, and Terrell Davis is trying to make his comeback. It's probably 2000, maybe 2001. But Terrell Davis is trying to make his comeback. And I remember I tell Patrick, I was like, get an interview for the show. So we see him at lunch. We go sit down. We ask him, do you mind, doing it? Set the interview up for Patrick to just to record it with him. Patrick Watkins we're talking about. He used to do all the bits on the zoo, for those of you maybe who don't know. And TD talked to us for 30 minutes, man. 30 minutes. We just sat there and bullshitted. And he talked to us about a lot of stuff. Wasn't afraid to tell us about his knee. And that's when I knew. I was like, uh-oh, this is probably done. And he knows it. You know what I mean? Like, just sitting there talking. And he just was a guy at that point. Matter of fact, I think, like, again, I kept thinking, don't you want to go? You're just going to keep hanging out with the two of us. And then I realized, I don't think he's going to the practice this afternoon. I don't think he's going to be able to practice, And it just was, I also remember, this is just the professional thing. I'll give you 2 more. We'll get out of here. There was one time, like, I was worried you guys were going to fire me as your producer if I could get any players in there. So do you remember?
Bring him in the Winnebago?
In the Winnebago. And so I was so fearful of my job. I think I brought you guys like 6 or 7 people at one time. And
4 dudes sitting in there. And remember, we had a cooler of beer and some pop and water. And
the Xbox. Dave looks at me and goes, stop, there's too many people in here.
Yeah, because we went like an hour without taking a break because we just go here. But I think McCaffrey came in there. We had a lot of players.
Oh, I got Rod Smith. I got McCaffrey. Yep. I think Al Wilson popped in. But I felt like I was going to get fired if I didn't get you anybody.
We used to get everybody, though, man. That's when training camp was cool, and training camp. And then they start playing games and putting you so far away from where they walk off, and you can't get them. And then you have to set it up with us. You can't just ask them. They've really made it inaccessible, which that's fine. And listen, we got great jobs. Don't feel sorry for us, and I'm not even complaining about it. But and I think I can speak for Andy on this. But you and I always looked at training camp was a way to introduce players to the regular fan and to have a conversation with them that they're maybe not normally ever going to hear or see and so we always looked at it like that. We'd have fun with them, and I'm never too serious when I interview anyway. And we have fun and joke and have a good time. You remember I always said this when Sean Payton challenged Russell Wilson and Russell backed down. I've always said, and I'll contend this forever, that was the final nail for the relationship between Russell and Sean Payton. And then fast forward to last year, and you see
Bo Nix stood up to him.
Bo Nix stand up to him, and I think that cemented that relationship. I think some guys are like that. I'm a little bit like that. I used to always tell you as a producer, I'm going to test you. And when you start to back down, I know you're not the guy. I mean, we had conversations about that. And unfortunately, I think I turned you into that on a handful of producers too. Listen, you want to see if they're ready to take a little heat, right? So we're in Greeley, and you have that little lounge area out in front of the lunchroom area. And I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to Brian, and we'd interviewed him, and I don't know if his first year, maybe the year after, I don't know, but he's been there. Everybody knows him, and I know him pretty well.
Brian Greasy, you're saying?
Tim Smile was sent by the radio station to go and get liners. Hey, this is Brian Greasy, and you're listening to the Broncos radio here on 850 KOA. Whatever, just a little liner. We'd run it in the pregame or in shows and stuff, whatever. And he went in there and kind of butchered it, and I could see Tim's face. I'm standing there watching to him. I'm right there. And Tim goes, "Oh, can you do it again and maybe a little clearer, a little slower?" And Greasy goes, "Man, I ain't got time for doing all this." And I'm standing there, I go, "Brian, what the hell you got to do?" I said, "Do it right, man. This is your reputation online. Get up there," or something to that name. I busted his ass right there. I said, "You ain't got nothing to do. You can sit there and say it right, act like you care." And I got on him. And you know what he did?
You did it right.
He did it. And Brian and I have been like this ever since. I love Brian to death. We've done tons of interviews, and I saw him in a Nuggets game. He's back in town in Denver, and came by before one of the Nuggets playoff games actually, and got to talk to him a little bit. Looks good, but I really wonder if all of a sudden somebody finally, instead of just kissing his ass, said, "Man, come on." Then all of a sudden I cemented my relationship with him a little bit. And that's probably why I've always judged that confrontation with Russell and Payton and Bo and Payton. And I said, that was moments, man. Those were moments right there. You had a chance to solidify a relationship, and you didn't do it.
No, you're right. Well, and the Russ thing was so weird anyway. The whole thing was weird. I don't know, man.
I still think if Russ gets back and gets in his face and act like he wants it, and he's going to compete and doesn't care about what the TV looks like or says anything, and jumps back in his face, I think it changes their relationship.
You're probably right, but there are times where I wonder. I'll say it. There's just times where I wonder how scrambled does Russ get sometimes. Dude takes a lot of hits. I mean, a lot of hits. I don't know.
I think he's a nice guy. I think he does take some hits. I think he's from the school thought, I'm going to take a sack, as opposed to, I think he's more worried about his completion percentage than, losing 4 yards. And I think that's hurt him throughout his whole career. I mean, he's always had great completion percentages, but he also always leads the league up there in the top 3 or 4 in sacks all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
I also think that he's now, I hate this about life, let alone pro sports, but it's too many top echelon guys. It feels like they're more worried about the brand than the win.
Well,
John Elway, and I know he takes a lot of criticism for his late GM actions and everything else. John Elway didn't give a flip, really, what anybody thought about him. What maybe even the coaches thought about him. All he cared about was winning. Now, did he probably have too big of an ego for it at times? And did that him and Manning probably, two alphas in the same building, maybe a little rough at times. Might have been. But I know this as a player, and I've had a lot of conversations with him. He didn't care about dinkus except winning. Hell, Michael Jordan was like that. Michael Jordan, remember that documentary? He said, I don't care if Dennis parties. You better show up, though.
Yeah, it's not a problem till you ain't playing well, right?
You have a problem till you don't show up.
Well, the thing about it is, and we're sounding like old men here, and I don't want to do it, but the reality is in your day, and what I remember coming up, if you didn't win, you weren't getting paid. You weren't on the commercials. You didn't get to be a brand. And now you kind of can still be a brand without the W's. And that's the difference. So,
well, what was the line from Elway? You made your fortune in the regular season. You made your fame in the postseason.
Yep. Isn't it dry? It's kind of the old golf saying, drive for show, putt for dough.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. We enjoyed having Barry on. We'll jump on here next week and we'll do it again. 9:00. We'll have some practice to talk about it.
Under a belt by then.
What's that?
By the way, all the people that were worried, it looks like Jonas is okay. We're here.
Yeah, man. I want to talk a little bit more about that next week. I do want to get your take on the situation where are the Nuggets now? Should they be a favorite? Because I don't know. I've told you guys. I've done a whole topic. I don't know who I'm more excited for, the Broncos and the Nuggets right now. I kind of want them both to start playing again, frankly. So anyway, but we'll take that next week. Say goodnight there, Irene.
All right, Irene.